God wants us to manifest Him in the face of it all, so the world sees the integrity of who Christ is in His people.
Our mission statement of the gospel is to become love, so that wherever we walk, people want what we have. We so love the world that we give. What do you give? Everything that you are, you give. You don't hold anything back. Come on, man, you don't have the right to have a bad day. No, well, you don't know what I've been through. Man, you don't know what He went through to give you His life. Man, what is it worth to trade your life? Why would you want to hold on to something that's crushed? What if you were so possessed by God that it didn't matter what people said about you? God has given you dominion by His Spirit, that every place the sole of your foot treads, it's yours. God grabbed your heart, not for you to be bound by the fear of man anymore, but for you to be possessed by the love of God. And if God is for you, who cares who's against you?
The gospel has always been about transformation and a renewed life and a renewed mind and a whole new way of thinking and a whole new way of living. We have preached it for a long time with a self-centered twist that's gotten us in trouble. A large percent of Christians believe that we're Christians for God to take care of us. If we're not careful, this gospel is all about what we can get from God and how God can do us and treat us and help us and bless us, and it causes a great snare in our lives. We're struggling like everybody else, and we think our feelings are the way it is. Truth is the way it is. And you're not alive for everything to go your way. You're alive to manifest Him. It's a life lived, the truth. His name's Jesus. He's our best friend. The gospel has always been about how He can make us more like Him through the example of His Son by the power of His Spirit. You're the only hope of the world truly seeing Him and knowing Him. Your life is the only barometer that anybody will ever have. It's your life. You're the roster of heaven.
There is such a time as now. God's predestined and limited you from all that other junk now. God's ordained you now. God has said blameless now. Don't wait 40 years to say it's your now when God said it was your now then.
You're the best He's got. You're in the game. You're not on the bench. You're not a sub. You're not a backup squad. You're not a B team. You're the body of Christ. Listen, the body of Christ, the embodiment of Christ. You embody Him. He lives in you. He says, let your light shine. So don't get issues and attitudes and fall apart. Let your light shine. And all of a sudden, come hell or high water, Jesus is Lord, and people see it in your eyes.
You're not here for you. You're here for Him. You abide in Him. You flow with Him. You move with Him. Learn your identity. Who you are as a son. Stop being manipulated by lies and dominated by hell. Just surrender. Say, you know what, God? I didn't get it. Now I do. God, I want this. And God says, that I can work with that. Woo. And you don't have to say, well, God, what do you want me to do today? Just do it. Well, God, where do you want me to go? Just go. Well, God, who should I pray for? Everybody. We're so used to being comfortable. We're so used to just staying inside our comfort zone. Holy Spirit is called the Comforter because He knew that you were going to be uncomfortable to step into this thing. Rise up and be the bride. Be a passionate warrior that God created you to be, so you can burn with fire and the world can watch you burn. Why would you hide this thing? Why would you be a basket-headed Christian? Why would you put this thing underneath of something? It is meant to shine so that your whole house will be lit. It's meant to shine so that your city can be lit by one person. Everywhere you go, you're a conduit for God's grace, for His glory, for His mercy, for His compassion. You're a conduit for His fire to flow through, to touch the world around you. All you've got to do is say, yes, I want this, God. That's it. All you got to do is say, I'm in. All that's required is that you're sick and tired of not having this happen in your life. And God says, you know what? If you're sick and tired of it, I want to fill you with me. Come on, you're on the earth not to represent you. God, by mercy and grace, mercy woke you up today to give you one more day to manifest Him and not you. Come on, guys, this thing's real. Rise up. Be the bride. passionate about something. Give your life. Stop holding on to you. What are we doing? What are we doing with this? Come on, all you gotta do is say, I want it. That's it. There's no secret except the mystery, and it's been revealed. The mystery is Christ in us, the hope of glory.
You don't have to just be depressed, discouraged, forlorn, despairing, because what He has been through has so marked your heart, so changed your life, so hooked you up to why you're alive that nothing can move you anymore. If I live, it's for the Lord. If I die, it's for the Lord. It's all about Him. Christ in me, the hope of glory.
Amen. Hey, I'm going to just share my heart this morning, and I'm just going to walk through a bunch of stuff. Is that okay? Yeah? This is like crazy because like we're starting like way before 10 o'clock, and we usually don't even start till like 10:10, which might mean you're going to get out of here early. But I doubt it. I doubt it. I just want to share just a couple things. If this is your first time here at Church 242, just to let you know, like, I want you to talk back with me. We want to interact with each other. I don't believe in this concept of like me preaching, you listen, and then that's it. Like, you know what I mean? I want to just have a conversation, and I want us to kind of feel like we're in this together, because we are in this together. And what is this that we talk about? Not church. We're in life together. And we need to be able, we were created for community. That's what we were created for. This is why people that literally go by themselves and seclude themselves from the world usually end up going crazy. Their minds can't take it. Why? Because we were created for people. Does that make sense? We have a longing to be loved. We have a longing to be accepted. We have this longing in our hearts from the day that we're born, because we were made for community. Amen? People for people. Got it? Yes? That wasn't a rabbit trail, actually. That's one of the things I want to talk about today. But before I get into that, I want to share just some of the couple things that stood out to me in that video that we just saw, because it really leads in to what I want to talk about and share today. The first thing that I just kind of pulled out was this. Todd White, the guy with the dreads, he said, "Mercy woke you up today to give you one more day to manifest Him and not you." And when he said that, and I kind of rewinded it and I listened to it again, I was like, he did say that. And I was sitting here and I was just kind of, what does that really mean? What does it mean to manifest God? What does it mean to do that? And then certain Bible verses started coming to my heart and into my mind, and I'm going to share those in a second. But when it says this, the part that got me was, it's to manifest Him and not you. Which means this, in our life we have to lay ourselves down. We know that. I mean, Christianity, if you guys have been to church at any point in time in your life, I mean, that's kind of like the thing is, die to yourself and rise up in Christ. Amen? Everybody got that? I don't want to just, but something's got to take hold in our hearts and in our minds when we recognize this is real. And if this is real, then we have to start to manifest Him. We are the image of the invisible God, right? That's kind of what it shares. We are the hands, we are the feet, we kind of have the voice of God. And guess what? If I represent Him, when I accepted Christ as my Lord and Savior, I took on His name, basically. And if I represent Him, and I'm the representation, you're only going to see me as the representation of Him. How am I doing to you? You know what I mean? How does it look? And that's the vice versa. That's you to your coworkers, you to your family. This is why family members can't stand people that go to church, especially if they don't. Do you know why? Because they actually know your true lifestyle. You can't fake it with your family. They know you. They know who you are. They know how you act. They know these things. And if there's one time that you don't show love to them, they grab that and they use that and say, how do you call yourself a Christian? Right? Our job is to manifest Him and not us. And then the Lord hit me with this verse from 2 Corinthians. And it says this, "For we must all appear before the judgment seat of Christ, so that each one may receive what is due for what he has done in the body, whether good or evil." And I started thinking about this. I don't know if you guys have thought about this at all. Some of you are like, I didn't even know that verse existed. And so, congratulations. It just ruined you. What is it really saying? It's saying this. God's going to judge us. And like, that's why I don't go to church, Craig. I hate everybody judging me. No, God's got one day. You have to realize, well, one day you will realize, this is all real. God is real. We're not just some ball floating around in the universe. God is real. This is not by accident that you're here. There is a plan. There is a purpose. You do have free will, yes. And because you have free will, this verse comes into place. And listen, you have to grab this really quick, is how to put it. Yes, Jesus died on the cross for our sins. Amen? I mean, we just celebrated Easter, okay? So yes, we get it. He rose, he beat the power of death. But that doesn't mean that you get to go run around and do everything you wanted to do in life and just be like, live by grace. No, that's cheap grace. That's not what God actually says. He says this. This is really where he's like, look, we're going to appear before God, and we're going to have to answer for everything that we did. So when you woke up this morning, by His mercy and by His grace, did you wake up this morning to try to manifest Him, or do you still have a lifestyle of you? Because that one day, we're going to have to answer why we kept waking up and thinking this life was all about me. Can I be honest? I'm always honest. I'm just going to be more direct. I just don't want you to get mad at me when I get direct. And that's why most marriages fail. Most marriages fail because they wake up and they think it's all about them. And if their spouse wakes up and they feel like it's all about them, they're going to have a horrible day together. And then if you do that and you have kids and you're wondering why your kids aren't catering to your needs. Why are you always screaming? Why do you always want? Well, it's because they don't get it yet. But to be honest with you, they're just modeling what you showed them every day. That it's about them and not others. My bad. I'll move forward. The next thing is from Dan Moeller. The other guy in the video, he says, God wants us to manifest Him in the face of it all so the world sees the integrity of who Christ is in His people. I know it's a bunch of words, but think about it. Christ's name, His integrity of who He is, lies within His people. It's in you. So if we're walking around being selfish and we're just wondering what God can do for us, we're going to be in trouble one day. Because somebody's going to look at us and they're not going to get into heaven because you were the manifestation of God in that person's life. And guess what? One day we'll sit in front of the judgment seat. And He'll say, hey, remember your coworker? They were constantly looking at you day in and day out, trying to say, why won't this guy throw me a bone? I'm giving all the signs, but he's so busy thinking about himself. If that's the God he serves, forget that. I know there's that weird, and I didn't put it up there, but it just reminded me of what is his name? Anyways, the quote is, the number one cause of atheism in the world today is that Christians basically don't live the lifestyle that God says. And so when somebody sees that and they say, you're supposed to live this way and you're living this way, God does not exist. You guys with me on that one? That means God's integrity lies within us. Now, some of you guys are sitting here going, Craig, God's all powerful. He can do whatever He wants. He takes me out of the picture and He'll still have His... You're right, He absolutely could, but that's not the way His character is. That's not the design that He ever created. So if you sit here today and you have that thought process, God doesn't need me, then guess what? You'll never have Him. The reality is He created you because He wanted you. There is a need for you. Otherwise, there was no reason for Adam and Eve. It's not that God depends on us, but He actually wants us. We're part of the kingdom. Okay, we're not part of the problems, although we do cause problems, but we're part of what He wants. Does that make sense? I just want to say, I have to explain all this stuff, otherwise you'll never get where I'm going at the end. Is that okay? So we'll get some of this boring stuff out of the way, and then we'll just keep moving. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. Sound good? So just to bring more bad news to you, there's another verse in the Bible. And it's from Romans. It says, for we will all stand before the judgment seat of God. For it is written, as I live, says the Lord, every knee shall bow to me and every tongue shall confess to God. Verse 12, this is the important part. So then each of us will give an account of himself to God. When that day comes, what is your account? What have you given? What have you done? Now here's the thing. Some of you guys are sitting there going, Craig, you're teetering on the line of works. Works don't get us into heaven. You're right, works don't get us into heaven. You're absolutely right. Okay? Works do not get us into heaven. But, here's a good phrase. Okay? The way you live is what determines what you believe. True? The way you live determines what you believe. If you are constantly sitting around worried about finances, constantly sitting there going, how am I going to get more money? How am I going to get another job? How am I going to do this? How am I going to provide for my kids? How am I going to provide for my wife? How am I going to do this? And all of a sudden, but you sit there and you claim to be a Christian and a Christ follower, that's not what your life is actually saying. Your life is actually saying, I believe in mammon. Mammon is a name for a god or the wealth of the world. Does that make sense? What you're saying is, that is greater to me than God. Did that make sense? Yeah. Now some of you guys are, Craig, I know this. I told you we're reviewing so we can move forward, okay? But this should scare us. But this should actually not just, let me rephrase it. This shouldn't scare us, but this should challenge us to how we're actually living our life. This should challenge us to look at ourselves and say, hey, when somebody looks at me, do they actually know that I'm a Christian, or do I have to tell them that? And how bad would that be if you're like, oh no, I'm a Christian? They go, really? You? Ouch. Or when you go to work and they're like, oh, would you like to go to my church? And they go, you go to church? Those should be like statements. I did a youth ministry for years, and I always told the students, I said, don't ever call yourself a Christian. It's not your place. Somebody should always call you a Christian, and that's how you know you're doing it right. Because if you have to walk around and tell everybody, no, I'm a Christian. Really? Yes. They should see it in you. There's another verse that goes along with this. It says this, a good man brings good things out of the good stored up in him, and an evil man brings evil things out of the evil stored up in him. But I tell you that everyone will have to give an account on the day of judgment for every empty word they have spoken. Uh-oh. I'll read that one more time a little slower. But I tell you that everyone will have to give an account on the day of judgment for every empty word they have spoken. For by your words you will be acquitted, and by your words you will be condemned. Well, this service is going great. I'm leaving here depressed. Listen, I'm sharing all these things because I need us to take an inventory of our life and who we are. And the reason why I have to do that is because today we're actually not even going to be talking about you. We're actually going to be talking about church, Big C in general, what church really looks like. And we're going to look at just some of the things of what church does and how we've gotten a little bit away, I would say, from what the gospel really tries to explain. Does that make sense? Amen. So I have one last thing I wanted to share with you, and it's this. Your life is a result of what you value. It's kind of the same thing. The way that you live is what you believe, kind of an idea. But your life is a result of what you value. If you get to the end of your life and you have a ton of material things stored up, big houses, lots of cars and all that kind of stuff, and not really any legacy to leave behind, we know what your value was. But you don't have to wait to the end of your life. You can just look around your house today. You can look around your heart today and start asking the question. I'm not saying that you have to give away things, that you have to be poor in order to be a Christian. That's not the truth of it. But the reality is, you know, if you're going to die and you have millions of dollars, right, and you give it all to charity, and you've helped out charities beyond belief, and that's a good legacy. Does that make sense? You can see where your value lies. I'm not saying that you can't be rich and get into heaven, although Jesus does say it's really hard. He does say it's a little difficult because money does start to consume us after a while. But there are people in this world that have done it, and they've done it right. Does that make sense? It's not that money's bad, it's how money consumes you that becomes bad. Did that make sense? And let's just be real, if we're going to talk about this, the church is no different. Come on, we're not even allowed to talk about finances in church without people being like, see, this is why I don't go to church anymore. That's all they do is talk about finances and money. That's all they care about. Which, to be honest with you, that's true in some cases. Why? Because your life is a result of what you value. So what do you value? Is it family? Is it people? Maybe you have a justice issue on your heart and you want to make sure that we take down trafficking. Maybe you have a justice issue on your heart and you want to take away, you want to help addicts. Maybe you have a justice issue on your heart and you have this crusade to make sure that there is no homeless person in your area. Wait, we're not allowed to call them homeless anymore, I found out. I think they're called unsheltered. And no joke, I'm not even, that's like literally, I think the LA just coined this phrase that you're not allowed to call them homeless, they're unsheltered people. Okay? So like the reality starts to become, what do you value? Are you guys all with me on this one? And then for some reason, after all of this, now that I have depressed you, and you're like, now you're looking at your life and you're like, this is horrible. This is dumb. All right, listen. I'll try to make it a little bit more exciting because I can tell that the morale is down. You can totally tell the morale is down. Here's what I want to share. This is actually the Bible verse. This is the scripture that the Lord gave me, and I want to kind of share it with you guys. Is that okay? And I couldn't figure it out for the life of me why he was sharing this with what I wanted to share, but then I got it, so I'm going to walk you through that. Are you ready for this? Matthew chapter 5, verses 39 through 42. It seems like it's just a real short thing, like little thingy, but it's actually extremely powerful, and you've heard it before. Matter of fact, you probably quoted it before and you didn't realize what you were actually saying. Are you guys with me on this one? I'm going to read the entire thing to you. It's really, it just fits on one slide, okay? But I tell you, do not resist an evil person. If anyone slaps you or strikes you on the right cheek, turn to them the other also. You guys have heard this before, right? Yeah, okay, just keep paying attention, okay? And if anyone wants to sue you and take your shirt, hand over your coat as well. If anyone forces you to go 1 mile, go with them 2 miles. Give to the one who asks you, and do not turn away from the one who wants to borrow from you. You've all heard this? And I guarantee we probably all get this wrong. The last time I preached this sermon, I was called a racist. So, no, it's the truth. And I'm still scarred by it, as you can tell. So I will not be bringing anybody up onto the stage today to share this. But I want to walk this through with you guys, okay? You have to understand the culture. As soon as I started explaining it, you will understand, okay? As soon as you understand the culture, okay? The culture of which they live, things are going to start to pop out to you. This concept right here, but I tell you, do not resist an evil person. What does that really mean? Don't resist an evil person. Anybody know? Walking through, thinking about it, it's a kind of a weird statement. Because resist means to what? Push away. So don't push away an evil person. Right? So now you're sitting there going, well, that's weird. Why wouldn't I push away an evil person? So you have two ways of looking at it. One is, don't push away an evil person. Then the next thought process is to stray away from evil people. Did that make sense? We don't know exactly what it is. We just have that. So you can have two different theologies. Are you with me on this one? You can either keep away, push away, keep away from, or you can say, hey, don't resist an evil person, which means bring them in. Which actually makes a lot more sense when you read further in, because it says love your enemies. So I would actually say this: what do we do in our life when somebody comes against us? We push them away, we make fun of them, we say get out of the way, right? We push them away. But in this case, I'm going to take it from my personal point of view is this: don't resist them, which means this: bring them in. I'm not going to fight you. I'm not going to do it, but I'm going to love on you because that's what the scripture says to do. So I'm going to bring you in. And then all of a sudden it says this: if anyone slaps you on the right cheek, turn to them the other, right? This is where I have to explain culture to you. This was actually a slave term. This has to do with slavery, or people that are owned by people. Everybody understand this? This is what it is. If you can, I need you to imagine this, and this is where I got in trouble because I brought somebody on stage and I said, you get to be the slave, I get to be the owner, and that was not good because of their race. Now some of you guys, oh, I get it. It's not very fair. I just picked the guy in the front row and that sucked. Okay, so moving forward with my life. So I will just pretend that there's somebody standing here, okay? In this culture, especially in the Roman culture, which is where Jesus is talking, and this is kind of what's happening. What they said is very simple. If somebody strikes you on the right cheek, turn to them the left as well. In order for me to strike you on the right cheek, okay, most people are what? If I'm left-handed, you're like, it's game on. Because as soon as I hit you, what is it? I'm hitting you on the left cheek, right? Or I'm hitting you on the right cheek. But most people are right-handed. So here's how it works. In order for me to hit your right cheek, I have to do what with you? Slap. Does that make sense? I gotta slap you. Now, here's what happens in the culture. In the culture, everything that was bad, disgusting, that type of thing took place with your left hand. Okay? Sorry for the graphics here, but you would never wipe your tuchus with your right hand. Okay? When you did your business, you would wipe it with your left hand. If you went up to somebody and you stuck out your left hand to shake hands with them, that would be the most disgraceful thing you can do. And there are so many countries in the world today that still live by that rule. If you go to Africa, let's say, there are certain places in Africa, in entire countries, where if you did that, it is a sign of disgrace, and they yell at you, if not fight you. Does that make sense? You'd always do it with your right hand. Your right hand is the hand of respect. Does this make sense? In order for me to strike you on your right cheek, I cannot use my right hand, because that is something that is laid away for respect. Did you catch that? So I have to hit you with my left hand. So if I strike you, bam, on the left or the right cheek, it says turn to them the other one, right? So now you have a guy that gets hit, I'll be the other guy. Ah, right? Just And instead of going down, they stand up and they do this. They turn and they say, go ahead, hit me here. Can they hit me with the left hand again? No, because now it's going to hit me in my face like, it's going to be weird, right? That's just weird. So the only way that they can hit me is if they actually take their other hand and they strike me with their other hand. Does that make sense? Closed fist or open fist does not matter. When they use the right hand, this is what is happening in this one verse. Are you ready? If somebody strikes you on the left cheek, it would be a master striking a slave. Do not give in to that. Step up and turn the other cheek to them. Because when they hit you again, they'll have to hit you with the right hand, saying that you are an equal to them. And that would just disturb everything. So many times we live life because we don't understand the interpretation of what God's trying to tell us. God is not telling you to be the church of the spineless and just bow down to everybody that wants to yell at you. But that is what the church has done over time, over and over and over again. We don't step up for what we believe. We shut our mouths and we hide and we say, oh, let's just resist an evil person. Just push them over there and God will deal with them. When God's looking at you going, no, I created you to deal with them so that my word, my life, my kingdom can be presented onto the earth. Why are you just cowering down and letting them beat you? Second thing, if somebody wants to take your shirt and hand over your coat as well. They wore two things, a tunic and an overcoat. Are you guys with me on this one? A tunic and a coat. So if somebody takes your shirt, hand them over your coat as well. There was this thing, you could find it in Leviticus and Deuteronomy. Okay, land is a big deal to the Jewish people. And when the Romans came in, they started taking their land that was in their families for literally centuries. Are you guys with me on this one? Started taking their land. And how did they do it? They didn't do it by force, they did it by taxes. Now you know why people don't like taxes. Why the Jewish people consistently say, I hate taxes. Why? Because they took their family land. Are you guys with me on this one? They started taking their land. And so what it says in actually Deuteronomy and Leviticus, it starts talking about this idea of being sued. So what they would do is they would love on their families and their people. And they said this, if somebody needs to borrow from you, make sure that you get their tunic from them. Take their shirt from them. You guys know the expression, taking the shirt off your back? That's a lawyer term. They get it from the scriptures. Are you with me? You would literally get their tunic and you would hold on to it. Okay? Are you ready for this? So all they would have is their overcoat, kind of an idea. Are you also with me on this one? Your job is, no matter how it works, every night you are supposed to take their shirt and give it back to them by nightfall. So if they came to you in the morning, you would take their shirt, and this would be collateral. Are you guys all with me? And then you would go back to them and you would give them their shirt at night so they would have something warm to sleep in. You would never leave them in want. Never leave them in want. Are you guys all still walking with me in this one? This is the way that the Jewish people kind of walked, okay? This is how they did. So in this phrase, when you hear this stuff, this is a Jewish law setting. Are you ready for this? If they're going to take your tunic and they're not going to give it back, I want you to give them your cloak as well. Stand there naked before them. Why? Nakedness is not a sin. Viewing nakedness becomes a sin. And guess what? If you didn't return their shirt to you by nightfall, you know what the scripture says? That the Lord will take care of them and you don't have to. He's saying here, I want you to stand up and believe what I've already told you in the scriptures way prior to this moment. I want you to understand that if they're going to take your shirt, give them your tunic or give them your coat as well. And when you stand there before them naked, know I'm handling the situation because they will be handled. Did that make sense? He's not telling you to back down. He's telling you to rise up. He's not telling you that he wants you to live in less or he wants you to live in want. What he's saying is, do you believe me enough to understand that I will take care of the situation for you? But I need you to step up. Yeah? No? All right. Got kind of quiet on me there. Oh, no, where'd it go? Bro, you got to go backwards. You're going way wrong way. There it is. All right. If anyone... That was close, man. We were so close. If anyone forces you to go 1 mile, go with them 2 miles. I don't know. Obviously, you can tell that I'm not a big exercise fan. If somebody comes up to me and says, hey, Craig, you want to go do a meeting? And I'm like, yeah. They're like, we're going to do a walking meeting. I'm going to be like, no. But they're like, no, let's do this. And then I go around with them one time because they forced me to exercise, right? But I go, no. If you force me to go 1, we're going 2. That's kind of a stupid thought process, right? That's not what this is talking about. This is actually a Roman law, okay? This is it's called the Angeru. Yeah, Angeru. Yeah, Angeru. This is a Roman law that says that a Roman soldier can pick any citizen and give them their bag, because their bags were heavy, their backpacks were heavy, give it to a citizen, and that citizen would get to walk with them for 1 mile. They have to carry their bags for 1 mile. Are you guys all with me on this one? So Jesus is saying, hey, listen, if somebody comes up to you and hands you and forces you to go 1 mile, do you guys understand the force now? If he forces you to go 1 mile, I want you to go 2 miles. Why? Why would he be doing this? Well, because there are Roman generals that would be walking around. And if they see a backpack on the same citizen over and over and over again, it then becomes the Roman general's part to come in and say, that is illegal. You cannot do that. And if you guys don't know, the Romans were really up on the law, okay? Laws were very crucial, and there's a lot of people that kept the laws. So the generals would be able to see them. There's also these towers that they used to have, and they'd be able to watch people in the city. And if they saw soldiers mistreating the people, okay, they would actually throw the soldiers into prison. Jesus, hey, if somebody forces you to go 1 mile, go with them 2 miles and let their people deal with them. You guys following me on this one? These verses are not telling us to be the church of the spineless. They're really not. They're sitting there and they're telling us something. They're saying, listen, I want you to rise up. I want you to be somebody in the kingdom. I want you to understand who you are, how you've been created. I want you to recognize that you are greater than what you are. Stop letting other people like treat you like, there's other words I wanted to use, but I can't use them. Why are we letting people like downcast us? Why are we letting people basically treat us like dirt? And then we're just supposed to take it because we're Christians? I'm sorry, that is the opposite of what I read in the scripture. I'm not saying we need to rise up and fight and be like crusades again. No, I don't think they got it right either. But what God is saying is, listen, you are a child of mine. And a child of mine has honor and has respect and has authority. Why? Because you carry my name. So son, daughter, rise up. If somebody strikes you on the right cheek, turn to them the left. Somebody takes your tunic, give them your coat as well. If somebody forces you to go 1 mile, go with them too. And whatever happens, don't ever deny somebody that's in want. Don't ever deny somebody that's in want, because when you deny somebody that's in want, you will be in want. So here's the thing. If somebody asks you for something, give, and give generously. Amen? What this is entirely saying, and then I thought this through as the church. This whole thing, this whole verse, is about influence. It's about influence. This whole message today, if you hear anything, it's influence. We, as Christians, as God's people, have lost our influence in the world. Let's just be real now. You gotta walk with me in this. You're like, no, we haven't. Yes, we really have. We don't have influence anymore. Well, we do have influence, but we don't have influence in the places that actually make a difference. We have been pigeonholed. Our mouths have been shut. Our actions have been downcasted, and we have been pushed to the side. We no longer have the influence that we used to have. Did you know there was a day where when you were a believer in God, that it actually meant something? And the parishes and the popes and these type of people, the cardinals, all these guys, they were so well respected because of their position in the church, because God meant something to them. To the people, we had influence. Are you guys with me on this one? Some of you guys maybe not believe me. I'll explain it. Watch this. Next slide. That went backwards. Go forward. Hiya. All right. Influence. Religion, education, family, media, business, government, arts, and entertainment. Have you all seen these before? Just one thing, when I say media, that really just means your news. Don't think, if you're like, well, what about movies and that? That's arts and entertainment. Sound good? Media means the news. These are our influences in our life today. There's 7 of them. Now, I'm going to explain this, but I want to be honest. I'm going to be like very direct. There is a mandate out there called the 7 Mountain Mandate. Okay? Some of you might have heard it before. I am not preaching the 7 Mountain Mandate. The 7 Mountain Mandate says that we have to take control. Christians have to take control of all of these areas in order for Jesus to come back. Okay? So there's literally groups, there's huge churches in the world today. They are trying to take over each one of these industries to make sure that Jesus comes back on a timely manner. Does that make sense? And Jesus won't return until we have these. Okay? There's a whole mandate, let's say. I am not telling you that. Jesus can come back whenever he wants. That's not where I stand. But they got this from the idea of culture. These are the influences in our society today around the world. Don't believe me? Let's just look at our last presidential race. Whoever controls these 7 things controls the world. Let's just be real. Are you all still with me on this one? So this is what happened. Go to the next slide. Education. Arts and entertainment, business, media. These are the things that you guys do every single day, right? Education. Most of you, if not all of you, you've been to school before. Congratulations, okay? You might have dropped out. It's okay, okay? But the reality is, we've all done school. Some of you are in school. Some of you have been in school for like the last 15, 20 years. You're like, when is it going to stop? Never, okay? It doesn't. We have to have an educational system, but here's the problem. The church is no longer allowed in school. Somebody started to control that. And that when that started to be controlled, God got pushed out of the school system. Did you see that? The next one, arts and entertainment. Let's just be real. And this is a statement across the board, especially when it comes to movies. If you are going to try to create a Christian film, nobody will fund you. It wasn't until the last 7 years that people really started to fund Christian movies. Do you know why they started to fund Christian movies? Because of T.D. Jakes. He decided to get his church backing a studio that says, I want to be able to do this. And Christians are starting to rise up because they're sitting there going, well, I just don't want to watch all this filth on TV and stuff anymore, right? So there's these movies. Now, if we can just get like better movies, that would be awesome. We're getting there, though. Does that make sense? The hard part is they can't just walk in and say, I want to make a movie about David. I want to make a movie about David. They can't just go in there and say that. Why? Because they won't fund it, because it's a Christian thing. And there's so many other religions out there. We've strayed away from that stuff. Are you guys with me on this one? And now modern art, did you know that art used to be heaven and hell all the time? Look at the Renaissance and all that stuff. It was all about heaven and hell, God and man. You know what I mean? I mean, dude, the 16th chapel, like, you know, you know what I mean? That's what it used to be. Now it's like, I painted this square red. 20 grand. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry, I just don't get into art, obviously. That, like, contemporary art, I don't like that. I like pictures. I love art. But I'm not into, like, the most expensive piece of art is like an 8-foot by 8-foot, like, it's literally a blue square with fades of blue in it. And it's sold for like $20 million because some dude's name is in the corner. I'm like, my kid does that every day. Like, goodness. Anyways, but art and entertainment, we no longer look after the heavenly things. You guys seen this? Our influence there is gone. You can keep going through all of them. Businesses. Oh my gosh, we can't have Christian-based businesses. They don't work well because what happens as soon as we try to do something, we try to like uphold our morals, like maybe not make a cake for somebody. Our business shuts down. And the whole world gets against us. We no longer have influence. And the last thing is this, is media. You never hear on the news what God's doing in the world anymore. Let me rephrase that, ever. You've never heard that. You never got around where they're like, you know, today in Istanbul, like 14 people came to know Christ. And, you know, like, we don't hear that stuff. We don't hear. It's like literally, like if you want to hear what God's doing, it's like that one random YouTube page that you have to go like deep internet to find, okay? Like you can't even Google that. It's like you got to go some random site and you know what I mean? Why? Something has happened to our country and to our people where we no longer have influences where it counts. And one of the biggest influences was this. Our government. Listen, back when we signed the Declaration of Independence, we were sitting back and we were a group of Christian men that stepped up, that said, this is what we want to be, this is our beliefs, this is who we are. Everything that you see throughout our government is always God-based. There was always prayer before every meeting. They knew that if they didn't have God, then something was wrong. And what has happened to our government today? We've removed God almost completely out of it. They have people taking down the 10 Commandments from their offices where they hold capitals. Thank you. They're taking down the 10 Commandments. They're taking down crosses. They're sitting there saying, "Oh, we can't show any like religious things." And then what does the government do? The government sanctions everything. Did you guys know that the governments have control of every single church inside the United States that has a 501c3? Did you know when we were creating our church, we were actually going to not do a 501c3? And the reason why we didn't want to do a 501c3 is because we are not allowed to say certain things. We're going to have to take this part off the internet. No. But the reality is we can't. We're not allowed to say certain things. You know that you can't get up and have any political parties, or I can't say anything about any political guys or anything like that? Anything. If we say anything political, they can literally strip us of our 501c3. They literally shut our mouths. The government comes in and they say that. Who's the one that took actually God away from the schools? Not the schools. The government came in because they're public schools. And they took it away. The government comes in. Did you know the government has so much control over Hollywood? It's absolutely ridiculous. And let's not even talk about media. They have control over it all. And this is what they have done. They've actually pushed out religion and family. Know that's not in the government circle. The religion and family they've pushed out. And the reason why is because if they can control these, then they can control those. Because now everything that you're being force-fed, if through whatever, the churches can't talk about certain things, so they're not worried about their political views. And guess what? The churches, what did we do? We got smacked on the left cheek, and we stayed down and said, you know what, we'll just do our thing over here. We're sorry. We didn't get up and try to have influence anymore. We didn't rise up and say, hey, you know what? Let's push back on this. Why? Because as a Christian, we're supposed to be good little kids and boys and girls. And don't say anything. Shh. I don't see that in the scripture. I see if somebody's making fun of our God, if somebody's trying to hurt who our Father is and trying to give him a bad name, we're supposed to rise up. I'm not saying rise up and hurt people. That's not what I'm saying. But we should be making some noise. We should be banging lots of pots and pans and making it really hard for them to get control over something. But we haven't. So now we have a mountain to climb. Does that make sense? The next thing is this. I wanted to share this with you guys. Is it making sense? Yeah. Because I'm going somewhere with it. I just want you guys to follow, okay? I got to explain all of it. So here's where it is. The next slide is this. So churches start to do something. Because we don't want to get involved in there, what we've done is we've created these holy huddles that we call churches. Are you guys with me on this one? Because we're not in the media, we're not doing all those different things, we've created these holy huddles. And what do? In order to create a holy huddle, you have to have a place to meet. Are you guys all with me on this one? So what do? We invest in buildings, and we do things called building campaigns and all this kind of stuff, right? And we do these buildings, and let's just be real, most of the time the reason why we can't talk about finances in church is because it goes straight to what? Building campaigns. We need to be bigger, we need to be stronger, we need to do this, and in order to do that, we need finances. Does that make sense? Remember the earlier statement of what you value? What you value is going to be able to be seen at a church. Same type of structure. You're going to be able to see it. And when you invest in a building, this is what happens. Okay? Next slide. Everything funnels into the building. You guys understand this, right? Everything's about the building. Now when you guys give a tithe or you give an offering, it goes to the building. Most churches have 60 to 65% of their budget goes to paying off the building. Did you guys know that? 65% of most churches go to pay off the building, and that means they're living on the rest. This is why you don't get paid very well at a church. Why? Because in order for this to take place, you have to sustain the monster that becomes the building. Now everything starts to funnel into the building. It is all about building. Okay? But here's the thing. You know what you can't justify? A multi-million-dollar building that you use once a week for 8 hours that day. And it sits empty the rest of the time. You can't justify that. So what do? And that means we have to feed the beast. So how do we feed the beast? Well, now I need to come up with structures, and I need to come up with plans to get people to fill that building. But I don't want to do it because I want to help out the community. I want to do it because I can't justify the building. Did that make sense? And so I got to get people involved, and I have to do that. So let's do this. And let's just be real. And this obviously is not all churches, but there's a majority of the churches out there in the United States. That's what we do. We try to feed the building. Because if the building doesn't, here's why. This is my thought process. I'll give it to you. Please don't be offended. I don't mean to offend anybody. This is my thought process. Most people want to be impressed and not moved. They don't want something that will spur them to action, just impress them. That's why majority of the churches throw concerts Sunday mornings. If we can't impress, we can't get financed. It goes to feed the building. Now here's the thing. It doesn't mean that churches are bad or wrong for wanting to do great things. There just has to you have to be able to understand the motive. Motive and heart is everything. Are you guys with me on this one? So the next thing becomes this was my next thought process, was this. Churches then live in, because of that, churches then live in a perpetual state of impressing, or they risk shutting down. This leads to trying to outdo the service from the week before, which ultimately turns churches inward, looking at themselves instead of the community and the people they were originally called to serve. Do you see how this really turns inward real fast? If I'm just trying to beat myself and trying to get finances. Because if I come and you are bored to death, you ain't coming back. Do you know the model that I was told over and over again? They say, Craig, this is what they told me, when you start a church, you need to fill your seats as fast as you can. Because every time you fill a seat, that's a tithe and you'll get farther. I'm not joking. That is the model that people kept sharing with me. They're like, that's the only way that churches survive. You got to fill seats, because when you fill a seat, they give you finances. That broke me. And I'll be honest with you, it should break your hearts, because you are not a dollar sign. You are a son and a daughter of a king, and you have been destined to do great things. And here is the thought process that we need to get into, because this is what we need to understand. When the church was created, way back in Acts, when it was created, it was not about the church, it was about the people. Because the disciples knew this, the apostles knew this, that if my job is to help people understand their identity so they can live out their destiny. And that's my job as a church. Our job as a church is to rise people up, get them trained, and get them to do what they're called to do. And if they're called to do something in an industry that has influence, then by all means, let's raise them up and get them into that industry and let them be the Christ follower they were called to be inside that industry. Are you guys following me on this one? So here's what we decided to do as Church 242, and I want to share just the real quick vision of this, and then we'll get out, because the vision is not very hard to explain. Okay? This is what we want to do. As a church, we want to invest into people. That's it. We want to invest into people. Now, there's a little bit of a problem. Oh, no. Oh, sorry. Threw that out. The next thing is this, because if I invest into people, people will then invest into the next thing, the community. Because people will start to invest into more people. And this spreads it out. But here's the thing. Here's what I want you to understand is we're no longer gunning for a building. Let me explain what it is. Like, what? No, listen. I don't want to get caught in the trap of trying to feed the beast of a building. Instead, I think instead of building a church, we need to spread a church. So how do you influence a city? Well, you take the influences that we know in culture already exist, that people already try to gun for, and why don't we just already invade what they're already doing? Instead of opening the doors of a church for once a week on a Sunday and say, come in and then leave, and then maybe every once in a while have 10 or 15 people show up and unlock the doors for little Bible studies, here's an idea. Why don't we go where the people are? Why don't we take ourselves as Christ's people? Because the church is not a building. The church is what? The people. So let's take the people and put them with people. I really just want to sing Little Mermaid right now. Like, I want to be where the people are. Laughing, singing, dancing to something. I don't know all the words to this song. Yeah, see? But I just spit those gross. But listen. We got to be where the people are. Why in the world do we expect, where in church history did we ever look at the people and say, we're too good to meet with you, you got to come to us? Let's just be real. When Jesus came in, he went to the marketplaces. When Jesus walked on the earth, he went to where the people were. He did not sit in a house and say, all ye come to me. He said, no, I got to go to them. Where did the model ever switch where we can't go to the people? So here's what we want to start doing as a church. Instead of actually just getting one building and say, let's just fill it every Sunday morning, what we're going to do is this. We want to actually we want to spread a church, and this is how we want to do it. We have Church 242 educational programs, House 1023, studio, restaurant, life celebration, sip and paint, dance, and theater. What if all these that you see up there were actually businesses spread out across this entire city? That the doors are open every single day, or let me say 6 days a week, to bring people into the community. Because guess what? They're going to do these things anyways. So why don't we have an influence of what they're doing? Right? Some of you guys are looking up there and go, what's House 1023? Oh, that's very simple. Why don't we have a place where people can meet? Not a church building, a coffee shop, a sandwich place, right? Everybody wants to come and hang out. So why don't see somebody, yeah, why don't we do it? Why don't we just have the influence over that and say, you know what? Come over to our house. Come over to our house and hang out. And guess what? Every Sunday at every one of these businesses, we run a church service out of the place. Every Sunday we shut it down, we set up chairs and we say, you know what? Come here. And here's the best part. It's not a satellite place. You want to know why? Because I'm not the only preacher sitting in this place right now. There are people in this room right now that know how to preach, that have a love for people. Why don't we get them to rise up, become the person they were called to be, so that they can go and live this thing out? And what if the church was no longer a building, but it was those people? And then you couldn't stop it. And here's the next thing. You're thinking, well, Craig, there's the government of the city. Absolutely. But if I have 5 to 10 businesses in their city, I better believe that we have influence on them. That's what we need to start doing. We need to start spreading the church. We need to not stop building the church. So I want to do this. You guys might have seen this before. I apologize. Because that statement is exactly what I just preached kind of against. A building. So we're going to X that. Bleak. My bad. My bad. Instead, this is what you're going to start seeing. Investing in people, becoming people of influence. Now you're like, Craig, but I put money into that. I know. We need buildings. But the focus will never be the building. It's what you do within that building. Does that make sense? Amen. So we're going to take that money, and the first thing that we're going to try and gun for, which is what we've always done for, we want to start building that coffee shop, because we need a place where the doors can be open 6 days a week to be able to help and influence the people. Could you imagine what they would do? All the young people, if you will, everybody drinks coffee. That's never going to go out of style. Do you know what I mean? So what if we did that? What if we provided a place where people can come and do their homework, and they can come and they can just participate? Here's an idea. Moms, you have little kids. There's going to be a place, an area that you can see, kind of like when you go to any restaurant. Chick-fil-A, that's a good one. Where you just let them run inside that little place, and you can sit there and have a Bible study with everybody else. Why? Because it's a place, it's the house. Where are you going to go? Let's go to the house and just hang out and have a Bible study. But here's what's going to happen every night at the house. Instead of just doing a coffee shop, every night, Monday through Friday, there's a worship team, and there's a preacher that preaches every night at 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock. Why not? Why can't we do that? And here's an idea, not just people that we know. Why don't we give people an opportunity to do the gifts that they have? Get some young pastors up in there and say, preach. And if there's 10 people, there's 10 people. If there's one person, there's one person. But you preach like there's 1,000. And how about this? Worship leaders. There's a ton of you out there. You all have this gift and you want that. How about this? Every night we have a different worship leader, and you get to share the songs that are on your heart, not just the songs that make people get up and dance. Did this make sense? That's all that takes place at the house. But let's say this, you have art in your heart. You're like, man, I'm an artist, Craig. Yeah. Why don't we start an art studio where you can teach people how to paint, and you can sip your own that you want to sip? And those things are popular right now. But what if we had a studio that did that? And what do? We take art and we actually mix it to Bible verses. And you say, this Bible verse is what we're going to be painting today. We're just going to put an expression to the words on the page. What if we did that? And then on top of that, in the back of that, there's a dance studio. I ain't a dancer, but I know a lot of people that are. Why don't we just have a dance studio back there? And then on top of that, why don't we let's just keep going. Why don't you just have a theater that's back there too? Not an actual stage and stuff like that, but a troupe that gets together and says, how can we do this together? And then get into Hollywood. Get some people behind. And is this making sense? How about this? I love this. This is the idea of a studio. Media. Why don't we get a camera and get an entire studio that just says this? Hey, for a subscription a month, you can come in and use all of our equipment. We have a recording studio for bands. We have an actual sound stage for people that want to do YouTube channels. Okay, and we just get to keep going. And there's a bunch of computers over here if you want to do graphic design. Right? Why don't we do this this is where the world's heading. Why is the church not the influence to that? So this is the heart. To become people of influence. To start investing back into the people. To you. Because you're not the only one. I'm not the only one that can do this. You can. And if we went right back to the very beginning of what we said, your life, how you live it, is going to determine what you value and what you believe. And as a church, I don't want to be a church that just values money and buildings. I want to be a church that literally values who you are and who you were created to be. And I'm tired of getting smacked on the face and staying down. It's time to step up and be people of influence. And guess what? We're probably going to get in trouble along the way. But if you stick together, there's strength in numbers. There's strength in numbers. That's why the Jewish people always have a genocide against them. Because they literally had the numbers to take over any country they wanted to, but they never had the passion to do so. Let's be the people that have the passion to love on our neighbors and this city. And what happens if Christianity takes over this city? The nation is soon to follow. It just takes a bunch of believers to rise up. So let's start investing in people. Let's start investing in you. If you have a gift or a talent and you have something that you just like, I want to do this, then talk to me. If we don't have a ministry here, heck, you started. Let's see what God does. Amen? Stop waiting for me to do something, because He probably called you to do it. That's why it's not done. That's why it's not done yet. He's waiting for you to step up. Amen? All right, that was my whole little thing. I'm going to pray, and then we'll do some music, and yeah. I don't know what time it is. Oh, we have time. We're good. Please leave here today understanding that you've been called. You don't need to be gifted in order to be called. You just have to step up to the calling. And when you step up to the calling, God will actually start to gift you. And it doesn't matter what age you are in this room. I want you to run after who He is and what He's doing. Now let's see what happens to this city if we go and start believing in all this. Amen?